All right, so for our next guest, it is going to be a video presentation from an amazing woman that I've had the pleasure of attending the EVF program with. She is a former military member talking about finding a new life after retirement or discharge. And if you ever get a chance, go check out her YouTube channel, History 8 Here. It's Miss Kailah Murry.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us at the Veteran Social Summit. I am excited to share some things with you that I've learned along my journey. My journey began in the late 90s in the Army and then moved itself through a lot of time into today. And really what I've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years is teaching leadership to federal civilians. And along the way, I've learned a lot of lessons about self-development, team development, organizational development, and even strategic leadership. So with that, let's jump in. We're going to talk about you today. And so I really want you to take some good notes. I have some tips for you and things that you might want to write down as we move through this session today. So imagine this. You've just launched your dream business and you've poured your savings, your energy, and endless late nights into it. But 6 months in, you're overwhelmed. Tasks that you hate are piling up and your strengths are feeling underutilized. And your passion, the reason why you started all of this, is fading. Maybe you even feel ready to give up. And maybe it's not your business. Maybe it's your career that you're in right now. You're feeling overwhelmed, maybe even underwhelmed, and your strengths aren't being utilized. Maybe you're on the edge of retirement or moving to another career. Maybe you're moving to another spot and you're just looking to find new work. And these feelings are all coming to you right now. Well, I promise you something is happening behind the scenes. And so we ask, why does this happen? Why does this happen? And because too often we start building things, whether that's careers or our businesses, before we built a foundation of self-awareness. And that is the foundation of knowing more about ourselves. I'm here to tell you something critical. The success of your business relies upon knowing yourself and self-awareness. So let's talk more about why it matters. So research shows that leaders with high self-awareness are more effective, make better decisions, and build more resilient organizations. Yet, many entrepreneurs, or even us when we started our careers, we skip this step. And some of us started our careers so early, especially you veterans out there, we all started our careers when we had no idea of what we really wanted. We weren't even aware of what was possible in ourselves, let alone out inside the world. We're told to do things too, like focus on the customer, master your marketing, chase the money. But here's the truth. Your business will only grow as far as you do. Your self-awareness matters. That's the secret ingredient to all of this. We do things like play to our strengths, we address our weaknesses, and we build a business that aligns with our values. So those are the 3 things that I want to talk to you about today: your strengths, your weaknesses, and where our values really are. So let's talk about your superpowers first. So think of your strengths as those business or those career, those entrepreneurial superpowers. They're the things you do exceptionally well and sometimes without even trying. They're the things that to this very day, it's getting you the results that you have wanted to get. And there are so many ways out there to find out what your strengths are. So think of those strengths again. So here's some of the other problems that come with this. Entrepreneurs think that they have to do everything. And at the same time, you do that without having a lot to start off inside of your businesses. Maybe you're bootstrapping. Maybe it's you and maybe one other family member, and neither one of you has really looked at what your superpowers are. So take an inventory of your strengths. Do it right now. Get out a piece of paper and a pen, crayon, marker, I don't care. Maybe pull out your phone. Let's talk about these strengths. So let me get to my list. Number 1, what am I naturally good at? What are you naturally good at? Do you know processes very well? Do you do program or project management very well? Do you manage people very well? Do you coach very well? What do you do that you are naturally good at? Next, what tasks energize me? There are certain things we need to do, whether it's at home in a business or in a career. There's certain things that you are energized by. Some of us love numbers. We love to work with financials. Some of you love to work with tasks and task lists. Some of you are energized by people and going out, making the sale. Some of you like to tell stories. That's great for marketing. So what tasks energize you? And then where do I consistently add value? Where do you consistently add value? Where have you added value at during this time frame? You have been in multiple places so far where you've added value. And I even challenge you to look beyond the obvious. So if you're currently in a career or you're currently in your business and you add value, take a step back further than that. Take a step back further. Where did you add value at the job before? Or your career or your businesses before? Maybe you're a serial entrepreneur and there's things that you did to add value consistently along the way. And I would say even look adjacent to that. So look at your family. Where do you add value? Where do you like to give advice to people? Maybe that advice is a place where you add value at. And then out in the community, some of you volunteer a lot. You give your time, you're on boards. You're also at the church or some other places where you add value. So where do you add that value at? Are you good at running a process? Are you good at leaning out a process? Do you help people with their marketing concepts? So where do you consistently add value? Okay, so for me, my value, just in case you guys need an example, was I like systems. I'm a systems thinker. So when I would walk into organizations, I would see where things weren't going right, or where maybe along the way, as they tried to do things, things got kind of bottlenecked or hampered up. And it would either be the process or a person in the process, not to very specifically say a person, but it was maybe the job or the function in the process. And so I was able to go into these things and say, this right here, you need a new process. Or if you did this, this would move things faster. And so that to me was where I was value added. But some other things that you can do out there, not so much. I'm not a person that goes out into the parties and schmoozes and things like that. That's not one of my strengths from back then. I had to take that and put that into a different bucket that we'll talk about here shortly. But those other things wasn't really where I was value added at, but I knew how to make things run faster, better, and making them stronger. That was where I really excelled at. So the takeaway from this, when you lean into your strengths, you can really use those strengths for your business and your career. And where you don't have strengths, you delegate the rest. You delegate the rest. You're not just more effective, but you're happier too. So go back to the beginning when I said, imagine this, you've launched your business, you're deep in your career and you're unhappy, and your strengths are feeling underutilized. Do you know what your strengths are? Do you understand when they're not utilized? And then are you able to now lean into those strengths and then take those things that are making you unhappy? If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to delegate some of those things. If you're in a career right now, or maybe you're currently inside of another business where maybe you can't delegate some of that stuff out, are you going to really start to take stock of those weaknesses and see what you can do and make a plan around some of that stuff? All right, so let's go to that second part. So let's talk about weaknesses. They're not your enemy. Now, here's the truth. Every person has weaknesses. There are so many surveys out there. In fact, what you can do while you're doing strengths and weaknesses is go online, go to any search platform that you want to, and type in individual strengths and weakness surveys. You will find so many of them. And then these might be able to enlighten you to some of these weaknesses. So ignoring those weaknesses doesn't make them disappear. In fact, it can make them worse. And especially when we lean in the wrong way, if we lean into a weakness and we don't want to admit it, and we say, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and we can't. Or maybe something keeps us from doing it as well as we can. So I remember when I first started looking at careers and leadership, I avoided things. Like I said before, I avoided things like those parties or places where we're going to make relationships. And those relationships might turn into some things like, I don't know, maybe sales, right? Those things made me completely uncomfortable. I said, I'm just not good at it. I'm not comfortable with doing it this way. Or I'm not comfortable with the way that they teach us to do these things. So I don't want to do it. So I'm going to go find things that maybe I don't do it that way. For example, I didn't like doing sales and talking to people and pitching people in the past. Well, if you don't pitch and you don't have customers, then your business doesn't stay alive. So I kind of leaned into some of that stuff. Now, weaknesses aren't a bad thing. They're a guidepost. Then I can lean into having a sales force do that with me, or I can learn a new skill. And in this case, it was learning how to engage people. And it was rewriting some of the script about sales and saying, I don't want to feel pushy. I don't want to do this. Who knew it? I could actually find people online that would talk to us about how you can remove that stigma of feeling like you're pushy, or ask different questions instead of going right in for that sale, which I've seen people do time and time again and be so successful. I felt like I couldn't do it. So I found my own way to be able to talk through with people and have the patience for it. So write it down now. Again, paper, pencil, crayon, marker, whatever it's going to be, phone, on notes, one task, one thing that you struggle with. Is it the sale? Is it spreadsheets? Is it financials? What is it that you struggle with? And think of another area where you avoid asking for help. It's a hard thing to want to ask for help. And sometimes we feel like we're bothering other people to ask for help. But I promise you, there's people out there ready and willing to give the help. So think about it now. What's one area that you shy away from or you avoid asking for help? And then to these areas, who can help me? Who can help me? This might be a partner. It could be a freelancer. It could be a mentor. This past time frame that you've been with us in the summit, you've heard from some amazing people, and you will hear from amazing people that could become mentors of yours. Maybe you've made some friends online that you can ask. There's support groups out there. I know inside Facebook or some of these other platforms, they've had some other entrepreneur type groups or career groups or coaching groups where people have given ideas. And it may not be a person, so to speak, but it could be a conference. There's so many great conferences out there that you can attend that's within your zone of business. One of my favorites for all of us here is Military Influencer. That's right, Military Influencer. Look it up online and you'll find that there's something for everybody. This year it was in Atlanta. It was a great time for everybody that was there. We had so much fun, connected to so many people. And those weaknesses that I had, I was able to ask people. And I gained so many new people, bridges, connections. I got to see some classes. So think about, is it a person? Is it a freelancer, a mentor? Or maybe it's a thing like a conference. Okay, so strengths. Now we have some of our strengths written down and we know where to lean into some of those. And now weaknesses. And now we have some ideas on who can help us with that or what can help us with that. But we're being honest with ourselves about those weaknesses as well. So now let's talk about values, the value of your business. And this is your guiding compass. Okay, now close your eyes. I'm going to open my eyes back up, otherwise I can't read my notes. But close your eyes and imagine this. Your business is thriving. You're earning more than ever. Your customers love you. And want to know that you are making that impact. Well, maybe we start looking at the product. So right now, with eyes open, list your top 3 values. Maybe you need some help. Maybe you're like, I don't know what a value is. I don't know what these words are right now. Go online and maybe find a nice search engine. Or here's a good one for you guys learning something new about artificial intelligence. Tap into those large language models and prompt a question. What values would be good for a business that does X? What values align with, and talk about the things that are important to you. My family is important to me. And maybe with family becomes freedom of time. I want to leave a legacy. That goes back to the idea of impact. So list your top 3 values. List your top 3 values. Then ask, if you're currently in business, are you aligned to these values? Am I making decisions that honor them? And maybe if you're not in business just yet, and you're just now starting off those plans, the questions start to become, what can I do to ensure my business is aligned to my value? What decisions will I make that will honor these values? Where's my line in the sand that says, I will not do this? If I value freedom, I will not do this. If I value impact, I will do this. Think through some of that. Write some of that out right now. Because I guarantee that when your business aligns to your values, it doesn't just feel better, your business will thrive. You will thrive in your business because now you're living the values that you want. So here, before all this began, what are some of the takeaways we're looking at? Before you build your business, you need to take time to know yourself. So understand your strengths, lean into them, acknowledge your weaknesses, and find support for them. Again, there are so many surveys out there. And I know some of you might be thinking some of those surveys are so hokey, or they're crazy, or these reports, I don't know what they mean. But let me give you some tips right now. When you go online and you search strengths and weakness surveys, individual preference surveys, you're going to come out with some that are super popular that are out there. And I think they're all valuable. And they all kind of create a new piece to the puzzle on you. Some of you have heard of some of the more beneficial, popular ones, Myers-Briggs, MBTI, DISC might even start to show you some things. Clifton Strengths is another big one. Strength Deployment Inventory, otherwise known as Core Strengths, is another. But there's so many. To be honest, I wouldn't really give you any advice on one over another. I would say take as many as you want to take. Give yourself the time to do that as well, and give yourself space. When you sit down to do the inventories or the surveys, make sure that you're answering for you. What do I mean by that? I mean, strip away the identities or the personas that you wear. If I were to answer surveys as a parent, it may come out a little different than the person that's underneath that, the foundational me. If I answer as a supervisor at work, may come out different. And if I answer as a partner, as a spouse, it may come out different. And here's the really touchy one. If I answer as the person that I hope I am, or that I'm working to be, then my answers will come out different. So when you do these surveys or these interests, inventories, make sure that you are absolutely answering for yourself, that you are 100% when you're given these questions going, this is me. Right, wrong, or indifferent, this is me. And something that I even say now in my own seminars where I teach leadership skills is this: there's no right, there's no wrong, there's just you. How can I make a better you? How can you learn more about yourself to become a better you? So when you do that with your strengths and weaknesses, you're able to learn so much more, and you can lean in and you can find support for them. Finally, you align to your values. Honor what matters most to you. You came into business or went into your career for a specific reason. Do you remember what that reason was? Do you need a little reminder for what that reason is? Because the most successful businesses aren't built with just a strategy. They're built with authenticity, self-awareness, and heart. So if you do all these things, I think You will revitalize yourself and your business, or if you're not quite there yet, you will start with a wonderful foundation that'll be there for you for years to come. You can find me just about anywhere. I'm on LinkedIn most of the time. In fact, I think that's probably the best place to find me if you want to know more or if you want to follow along to whatever else I might be doing. And maybe I might even see you depending on where you work right now or what you're doing or what conference you might be attending. But again, I really thank you for being here today. I hope you took the time to write down your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and now you know more about plugging them in to where you want to be at in the near future. Thank you so much for your time and for listening. And I really hope to meet you or see you somewhere else. Have a wonderful day.